The views and opinions expressed at Enhanced Down Under are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official views of the company. Any content provided by our hosts are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.
Welcome to Enhanced Down Under, the official podcast channel of Enhance NT. My name is Anna, and I am a qualified education agent counselor.
And my name is Jairus, and I work with Enhance NT.
Welcome to episode 25. So before we discuss our episode for today, our topic for this episode, let's have a quick recap of episode 24, which tackles about the most common reasons for visa refusal. So that includes issues like incorrect or incomplete applications, failure to meet the health or financial requirements, and insufficient evidence of genuine entry or intent to temporarily stay in Australia. It was a very helpful topic because it gives people the idea, at least the quick tips that to avoid visa refusal. DIY or do it yourself is not recommended, especially at this time that we are experiencing a lot of visa applications. But if you are still planning to do so, at least watch the previous episode, to give you an idea of what things that you should do or avoid to lower the chance of getting your visa application refused. All right, for episode 25, if we discussed reasons for visa refusals, in this episode, we're discussing life after a visa refusal. What to do next.
Yeah.
Okay? So, what do you think, Jairus? Kasi, syempre, of course, visa refusal can be very disheartening.
Yeah, I think it's it's a very devastating thing to go through. No one wants to feel that feeling of getting your visa refused. But at least for this episode, we can talk about what you can do after, and at least you know that it's not the end.
Right.
There are other ways that you can move on after a visa refusal. It doesn't mean like once you get refused, it's like that's the end of the story. So
yeah, yeah, of course, it's not easy. Other than it may demotivate you. There are some who told me that we're experiencing a bit of anxiety or after receiving this visa refusal, especially sometimes they receive it on a Sunday.
Yeah. Oh,
imagine
wow.
in case officer rendered overtime just to refuse your visa.
It doesn't help that when applying for a visa you have to gather so much documents.
Yeah,
you have to put so much time into it.
Yep.
And
money also.
And then getting refused, and after all that work, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah. It's a huge blow, of course. There's no denying it. But there's still hope, and there are ways that you can do if you are really determined, to stay in Australia. Okay, number one, as soon as you receive your visa refusal, what you should do?
I think if you're eligible for this, apply for an appeal.
Right.
To is it the ART now?
ART now, effective 14th of October.
Yeah. So back in the day it was the AAT, but now it's called ART. So you can apply for an appeal for the refusal to the ART within the specific time frame. Usually 21 or 28 days. The ART can review the decision and may overturn it anytime.
That's correct. But again, it's very important that you read your refusal letter, because not everyone is entitled to appeal.
To an appeal.
You will only be entitled if your application is lodged onshore, meaning in Australia.
Yeah.
But if your application is submitted outside of Australia, then you will not be eligible for an ART. Again, it was replaced AAT. It's no longer called AAT. It's been abolished. It's now called ART, or Administrative Review Tribunal. Essentially, it's the same, but for those who have already submitted their application with the formerly AAT, there's no need for them to resubmit.
Yep.
It will continue. Your case would still be reviewed by the case officers. But anyway, yeah, it's important. Have a read with the refusal letter. See if you are eligible for an appeal. If you are, and you have the financial capacity to do so.
Yeah, because it's expensive.
It is expensive.
Yeah,
it's almost 3,500, 3,496
Yep.
Australian dollars.
And the
That's
thing,
a lot.
if I remember correctly, it's non-refundable, right? So once you pay, I think you get 50% back if you get the decision overturned. Is that true?
I think so. I think so. But it will only be refunded to you if the ART deems that your application is invalid. For example, meaning they don't have the jurisdiction to make a review of your application.
Yeah.
So if it's invalid, if they say that, hey, your application is invalid, we cannot review this, we will refund your money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you will be given this refund form to complete. You submit it to them at least 3 days after you receive the refusal letter. Then they're fast actually in issuing the refund money.
Yeah.
So that's one. Read the refusal letter, see if you are eligible for an ART, and to see your standing. What visa are you in now? Okay? So, and it also gives you an idea how many days or your time limit to apply for an appeal. And you are right in saying they have 21 days now to lodge an appeal.
And I feel like the good thing about lodging an appeal is this. After lodging it itself, it kind of gives you a bit of leeway on thinking what you want to do next.
It buys you time.
Yeah.
It buys you time. I'll give you an example. For our student visa applicants, they got refused. So they lodged an appeal to the then AAT.
Yeah.
They can still continue their studies. As an education agent, it's my obligation to inform their school that their visa application has been refused, but they are of course planning to lodge an appeal to the AAT or ART.
Yeah.
And then the school just responded saying that we acknowledge and just provide us the copy of this student's appeal once it's done. And you know what? Most of the schools so far, this is for international students, they're very supportive of their student.
Yeah.
Like this Sri Lankan student, he's my client. His application got refused, and the school was, sad for him. But then they told me that, this student is very diligent. In fact, he's an ambassador of our school.
Yeah.
Hence, for his appeal, let us know what we can do, because we are willing to issue this letter of support, which we can use in submitting his appeal, in support of his appeal, right? So that's why it's very important for education agents like me to coordinate right away with the school, because you wouldn't know, they might also help.
Yeah. And I think some people, they might not realize that when you apply for an appeal, it's not like you're locked in and that you can't do anything anymore. So even if, let's say you apply for an appeal, I think, and someone, let's say, sponsors you or whatever, that kind of supersedes your appeal if something happens after.
Yep. But then, once you lodge your appeal, normally you will be on a bridging visa.
Bridging visa.
So,
so that's the next thing, the bridging visa.
Yeah, the bridging visa. So you can apply, of course, for a bridging visa. While your appeal is being processed, you may be eligible for a bridging visa to lawfully stay in Australia. And with a bridging visa, it allows you to lawfully stay in Australia until the outcome of your appeal or other applications is done.
Yeah.
So while waiting for the outcome, you are on a bridging visa. And what if you want to travel?
That's when you get a bridging visa B.
Yes, you have to apply.
People shouldn't be too scared of the term bridging visa. It doesn't apply. It doesn't mean that you have to be on an appeal to get a bridging visa. I was on a bridging visa when I was waiting for my for my papers to get finished and everything. So normally, if you want to travel, so instantly you get a bridging visa A, and then I wanted to travel, I would just get a bridging visa B. And it's an easy thing. I think with mine, if I remember correctly, it's connected to my IME account. So I just log into my IME account. I apply for a bridging visa B there, and then even the results gets posted there too. So it's very painless, to be honest. It's pretty easy.
Right. Right. So also, it's a quick tip. If you are unsure of your visa status, you can check it online using VEVO, V-E-V-O. So you will be asked, of course, for some information like your passport details, the date of birth, and so on. But the system would give you this. It's an PDF file citing your visa status.
And it's free to use.
Yeah, it's free to use.
It's free to use.
So plus the good thing is it has this the date that you have checked it. So you can say, especially if you are traveling, like you could say to the immigration officer that, hey, this one is very current. I just generated it yesterday or just a while ago. So yeah, it's for free. You can VEVO. Okay, so to be able to check your immigration status online.
Because like sometimes, how do I say this? There are weird times where if you have a bridging visa B and they sort of overlap with your A, it might say on the paper, on the starting paper, that your bridging visa B is not active, but it's actually active. This happened to me before, and I was asking like, can I travel or not? Because I'm scared that if I leave, that I might be.
Yes, yeah.
And that's like, it happens sometimes where it might say bridging visa B is not yet active.
Not yet active.
So that's something you can also consider just in case.
Yeah. And you can also there's some sometimes it's stipulated in the letter that your bridging visa B will be active once your
make sure you read everything.
Visa A. That's why you have to read everything. So sometimes I think Home Affairs were appealing to you. The more important details, please highlight it.
Oh yeah, sometimes. Like sometimes it says there, bridging visa B is active, let's say on October 5 or whatever. And if you don't read it, you'll be like, oh, it's not yet active.
Because it's a lot. It's a lot of information for you to read. And it would be very helpful for a lot of people to, highlight the most important part of the decision. Okay, so, it's just a simple request from us. You may want to consider.
I guess what happens if, because they're not going to ask you anything if you leave Australia, right?
Yeah.
And then what if
when you return?
Yeah, what's gonna happen once you return
and you did not apply? You did not apply for a bridging B visa. You say bye to your former visa.
Oh really?
Yeah, you have to reapply.
Even if you're on a bridging visa A, because it's a no travel.
Gone. Yeah. So you have to make sure that if you want to travel outside of Australia while you are waiting for a decision of your application. Apply for a bridging visa B first, and that your bridging B visa should be granted. Okay, that's very important. Okay, going back to students who received a visa refusal. So what happened to them? They still continue with their studies. One has found an employer, willing to sponsor him. When he started his industry placement. Industry placement is like an on-the-job training, but at the same time they also earn
like an internship.
So, but again, I discouraged the student to accept the sponsorship right away because it would create a bad image for him if he's not going to continue his studies. Other than that, it would also be at his advantage if he'll gain more qualifications.
And I think that's considered work experience.
Yes,
right?
work experience. So sponsorship can wait, especially the company has already expressed their intention to do so. Finish your study first. Gain qualifications, gain the required experience, so you can spread your wings more. So what happened to them? Their studies are not disrupted.
From portraits to event coverage, DKJ Photo Studio offers exceptional photography services tailored to your needs. Book your session today and experience the difference with DKJ Studio. Visit us at 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT.
I think that kind of leads to our third bullet point, which is lodging a new visa application.
Yeah.
Since the student has a sponsor now, that opens up a gateway for them to lodge a new visa.
Yes, but the thing is, if you have a visa refusal while you are in Australia, while on shore, that visa refusal limits you to applying to a further visa. There are only a few visa applications that you can lodge while you are on shore, unless you are going to exit first. So what are those visas that you can apply? 600, tourist, refugee, protection visa, medical visa, or partner visa. Diba? If you find a significant other willing to sponsor you, you found love in Australia and that person is willing to sponsor you, he is an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, then why not? Go for it. But then again, bottom line, there are only a few visa applications that you can avail once you have a previous visa refusal. Because like you want to apply, you got refused for a 500 or student visa, you want to apply and you got to be invited to this event and you want to participate, you cannot apply for a 408 visa or invited participant. Not even for a training visa or 407. Why? Because those visas require that you have to have a substantive visa for the past 28 days. When you say substantive visa, meaning a visa other than a bridging visa.
An active visa.
So, kung naka-bridging visa ka for more than 28 days, then you will not be eligible for those, even if you have a sponsor. What you can do? Exit. Exit Australia until your application is lodged. Once it's lodged, you can come back. So but that advice, of course, did not come from me. That came from our registered migration agent, Carol. Hi, Carol. So, what's next?
The next one will be a judicial review.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I've heard about judicial reviews.
Judicial review.
If your AAT appeal fails, ART now,
ART, yep.
you believe there was a legal error in the decision-making process, you can seek a judicial review in the Federal Circuit and Family Court. This is a complex process and requires legal assistance.
Exactly.
We need a lawyer for this.
Very complex process. Costly and complex. So I think lodging for an appeal costs like $3,900 something with the ART. It's like you're saying that, hey, Family Court, Federal Family Court, ART committed a legal error in reviewing my application. I want you to review it. Yeah, you lodge an appeal. That's almost $4,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, like, besides spending what you paid for the original visa, that's another almost $4,000 for a tribunal appeal.
Plus, you have to get a lawyer. So if I'm not mistaken, you will be required to attend court hearings. And each appearance costs, I don't know, $400,
and you have
something
to,
like that.
You have to, depending on what kind of lawyer you get, that also dictates how much you pay for that by the hour.
Yeah, so that's a lot. So find a partner in Australia instead. That's less costly and more practical.
Just make sure. I'm not sure if this is true, but partners can only sponsor twice, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
So make sure that the partner you get.
Ask your partner first. Have you sponsored?
Have you
previously
anyone?
sponsored before? Because if you do and it's a bad record, you withdraw the sponsorship eventually, then you may not be an eligible sponsor. So before giving your yes to your sponsor, to your partner, make sure that you investigate the background of that person first. Okay?
Make sure they haven't sponsored anyone yet.
Well, we wouldn't know, right? Partner visa, or you eventually found an employer. That can be that's possible. And while you're studying, even though you're just on a bridging visa and your appeal is ongoing, you can still continue with your usual activities, and then eventually when you graduate, you earn your degree or you earn your vet qualification, your certificate, go for a skills assessment. Right? So skills assessment, that's one of the requirements for you to be eligible for a skilled visa or a PR.
I think we've talked about this in one of our previous episodes. Normally for any jobs that you apply for, Some of them might require you to ask to undergo a skills assessment, and there are different bodies that govern skill assessments,
Right.
like the AFRA, minus the ACS, and then there's different ones for bakers and all that.
Yep.
So normally they ask different requirements. Like for mine, it was just submitting my qualifications, my work experience, and everything. But then for some people, you might have to do a video performance for like for the bakers. They might have to show their skills through the videos. You might get like a video conference interview, asking you what you know, what you can do. So it differs from person to person.
You will be asked sometimes to demonstrate your skills as a chef.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the requirements. So again, bottom line here is a visa refusal is, it could be a bump, of course, but it's not the end of it. So while you have submitted your appeal with the ART, you can still continue.
Yeah.
You can continue with your studies or with your usual work, because you will be issued with a bridging visa anyway. So for students, my advice is finish your studies, because that's your commitment to the government when you applied for a student visa. It won't make a good impression if you are going to just you cut it short and then apply for a skilled visa right away. You have to demonstrate to the Department of Home Affairs that, hey, I am a genuine student and I intend to finish my program. So, because anyway, it's for your own good. You have to, while you are on appeal, equip yourself with the knowledge and experience. And Australian qualification.
I was gonna say, like, it helps you in the long run too, because if you don't finish your course, you don't have like an Australian qualification under your belt. Versus if you do finish the course that you're taking, and you apply for like a job or something for sponsorships, it helps that you have a Australian qualification under your resume.
Right. So it's not yet the end of everything. Continue with what you are doing, but make sure that you are properly guided. Sometimes there are matters that you cannot handle by yourself. You have to get professional help, which we are going to tackle later. And to give you people an example, kasi you might think that, oh, you're just saying that because you're not the one who received the refusal. We personally know some people who experienced visa refusals. And you know what? They're citizens now. One is a permanent resident, and then the other is recently become a Australian citizen. So see, but of course, it's not going to be easy. You have to have the money. You have to have funds.
The funds is, I think, one of the biggest deterrent for a lot of people.
Yes.
The funds will always be a major factor for a lot of people.
It is.
So it helps that if you do go through with it, that if you're working, you do save up your money for it. Because just like with anything, it does take a price.
So you have to make sure that you have the financial capacity, or at least your sponsor has the financial capacity to support you while you are undergoing the process. And if you found a sponsor, a company willing to employ you, that would still depend on the level of commitment that company is willing to enter into just to hire you. So bottom line, again, to be a desirable employee, make sure that you are well equipped with the knowledge and the experience, right? So, and then what else can they do?
One, I think, is not as desirable, but that would be called voluntary departure.
Right.
So if all legal avenues fail, you may choose to leave Australia voluntarily before becoming unlawful, as staying beyond your visa's validity can result in future bans from re-entering Australia. So I think it's one of those things where if you overstay your visa, you can get deported, right?
Right.
And once you get deported, that marks you as someone who overstayed their visa. You can get flagged, I think, when you're applying for a new application now.
I'm not sure if they will be banned for a certain number of years.
But it kind of makes your
why
life
risk
harder.
that, right? So of course, no one wants that, especially if you have already set your goals of, acquiring a skilled visa in Australia. But if you have already exhausted all the other means to extend your stay and nothing comes into fruition, then you might want to consider returning to your home country. Otherwise, you'll be in a huge financial debt.
Yeah. And like if you become unlawful and you get deported or whatever, next time you apply for an application, normally at the end of the visa application, they ask questions. And there's questions like, have you ever overstayed your visa? Have you ever been refused? Have you ever been an unlawful visa applicant or whatever?
Whether you're hosting a special event in our function hall, holding meetings or workshops in our multi-purpose room, bringing your ideas in our shared workspace, or capturing memories in our professional photo studio, we have it all in one place. We'll help turn your vision into reality. Contact us at 0410151547 for details, or visit us at Unit 5, 90 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. DKJ Studio, your hub for creativity and events.
And you have to answer that truthfully, because if they find out that you've lied through your application, that's more trouble coming in for you, because you're not being truthful with your visa application.
Yeah, and it creates a bad mark in your immigration record if you overstay. But normally you are given like 35 days to exit the country. 35 days. So that's one of the possibilities.
Yeah.
But then again, it takes a while for the ART to come up with a decision about your appeal. If I'm not mistaken, from what Carol mentioned before, for students it takes at least 2 or 3 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Unless of course the department from the ART would find ways to expedite the process.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know. Maybe that's one thing that they might consider in the future, especially now that there's a high visa refusal rate and a lot of people are submitting their appeal.
Yeah.
And they know that these people are just applying to buy them time. So they might just surprise them one of these days that the review or the decision would be just like from the date of lodgement would be like 6 months. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. So don't bank on to that so much. At least make sure that you have other plans, plan B, plan C, up to plan D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you have backup plans.
Yep. And while you're here, equip yourself with knowledge and experience. Do whatever you can, stay lawfully, and just continue with whatever you have to do.
I feel like a good mindset would be don't expect everything will go your way.
Yeah.
Because if you do, that kind of sets you up to be prepared in what to do next. If you have this mindset, everything's going to be okay, you're going to get what you need, you might have a hard time if that doesn't happen.
Migration is a very complicated process.
Yeah, it's a mix of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Luck sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes being at the right place at the right time. There are certain people that have met criteria where they will get it, I feel like. They're like super talented people sometimes.
Right. But
And
then
these are the people who are like the top 1% or top 0.1%, where they're like super talented or super smart,
Right.
or they have like these skills where the country just needs them. If
yeah.
you're not
For
one
them,
of
it's
those,
going to be very smooth. Yeah.
I've known someone who's like the magna cum laude. He's like the bar top notcher of the country, and he had no issues with getting a job. But then if you look at his resume, it's stacked, and they're like, oh yeah, we want you, because they can see the skills that he can offer. But not everyone's like that.
So, if you're feeling sad, if you are feeling anxious about a recent visa refusal, and you have no one to talk to, Australia has this free service, Lifeline.
Oh really?
Yeah. You can talk to them. They don't provide professional advice like psychiatrists do, but at least kumbaga parang they're the first aid.
Yeah.
So if you need someone to talk to, you can call them. You can Google their number, Lifeline or Beyond Blue. So they can, at least you have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
You have someone, and that person, I think, would, give you advice.
No.
It would point you to the next direction. Right? So it helps if, someone would listen. Don't forget that, okay?
Yeah.
So other than talking to your friends, you go out. It's easy. Just grab your phone, call Lifeline. Okay? And you go out. Darwin, it encourages outdoor.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of places that you can go to in Darwin. You can enjoy and without spending so much.
Yeah.
Right? So grab a coffee for like $6, $5, and then get yourself a sandwich or muffin for $2. At least, breathe some air. Don't hold it in.
You can go fish feeding. They have like this
Right.
fish feeding area where you can actually go near the water and like hold the fish if you want to.
See?
There's a lot of things you can do in the city too.
Right. And then another advice for those who had their visa refused is seek legal advice.
Yeah.
Okay? So look for a registered migration agent or immigration lawyer to assess your options. Especially if your situation is something that's very complex.
Yeah.
You cannot expect a DIY or do it yourself.
A lot of people might not realize that migration agents or immigration lawyers, they know a lot about the system and they might show you ways where you might not realize. Some people, because they're scared of, I don't want to talk to anyone, I'm scared of seeking help because they might not be able to help me or they might scam me. That's the importance of finding a reputable migration agent or a lawyer. But once you do, they can show you a lot. A lot of things that you might not realize can actually help you.
That's true. So next question is, are you going to hire a registered migration agent or you do it yourself? What do you think?
That's a difficult one. Based from what I've experienced, if you're new to this, I think it's better if you hire a migration agent. If you don't have like a history of like traveling and doing a lot of things, and especially if you're thinking about immigrating itself,
right?
Then it's better to get a migration agent.
That's true. That's true. They have that. The advantages of hiring a registered migration agent is they have the expertise and knowledge. Hence, you have better chances of success.
Yeah.
Migration agents, of course, the legit ones, they're not going to tell you that your application will surely be granted. Because that's unethical.
Yeah.
They can they can have their license removed, I think, if they make such a claim.
They can't make guarantees.
Yes, because they're not the decision makers.
Yeah. They can only guide you on what to do,
Yes.
but they can't say, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna 100% sure get your visa."
I myself, as an education agent, I don't guarantee my students. The potential international students because one even asked me, of course, it's very understandable that Anna, can you at least give me an assurance?
Yeah.
Because it's going to cost me a lot. The application itself, at that time, the visa application was only $700, but the professional fees and all the documentations.
Yeah.
So this parent asked me to give her an assurance that her daughter's application will be granted.
Yeah.
I had to be very frank. Sorry, I cannot. We can only minimize the chance of getting the refusal by giving you a professional advice and mapping your child's education future in Australia. But for me to say that this is going to be a sure grant, I cannot do that. It's unethical. It's illegal.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have a better chances of success, of course. But although it's not 100%, at least you got the expert's advice.
And then sometimes with with migration agents or the lawyers and everything, they know what proper steps to take. So I think I remember back then, if you just applied for the visa, they would, let's say for a student or whatever, they might say, take the IELTS, take the health exam.
Right.
And some people, they just do it instantly. Then later to find out that because of the gaps of what they're doing,
Yep.
their IELTS or their health exam might expire.
Right.
So now they have to do it again.
Right.
So if you ask a lawyer, I'm not sure if it's still like this now, but that's how it was back in the day. And if you talk to like a migration agent or an RMA, they might say, "Oh yeah, just do it at the end. So at least you're only spending once."
Yeah.
I've heard cases of like that before.
They're surprised that their IELTS is already expired.
Yeah, because there is an expiry date on the, I think,
Before
health
it was
exams.
2 years. I'm not sure if it's still 2 years now or just they reduced it to 1 year. Not sure with that, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
most likely it's just 1 year now.
And the health exams have
and the health exam is
expirations too.
just for 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then remember, these migration agents, they have access to LegendCom. LegendCom is this legislation. It's a legislation, a migration legislation. It's the same legislation that the case officers use to assess and make a decision on your application.
Yeah.
So, case officer is assessing your application based on LegendCom. RMAs, or a registered migration agent, has access to that. LegendCom is not publicly accessible. It's a paid subscription for migration agents.
Yeah.
So that's their huge advantage. Because there are some, would claim that they're very good, they know the ins and outs of the immigration even though they are not a migration lawyer. But hey, you still wouldn't know bakit you have access in LegendCom.
Yeah.
Diba? What you know now, maybe just based on some people's experience. But, you still have to know the legislation.
And another thing that I was thinking of adding was, for the more complicated visas, when you're doing the application, some of the questions, it might not make sense for a normal person. Because some of the questions because I've seen some of the questions when they're doing the applications, and I was like, what does this mean? What does this mean? I'm not an agent, so I'm not a migration lawyer or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't.
The terminologies.
Yeah, I was reading it. I get it. I get what they're asking for, but then I'm not sure if I'm giving out the right information.
Unleash your potential and bring your ideas to reality at DKJ Studios Shared Workspace. We are located at 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. For more info, follow us at Design Carj on Facebook page. You can also call us at +61 879792352 for bookings or inquiries. Experience limitless creativity at DKJ Studio. Book your session with us today.
But if you do have like an RMA, they can tell you what you need to write or what you need to put. Because if you put the wrong information in, they're just going to email you again after, like, oh, can you please clarify this, or can you please give us the right information? It's one of those things where it's stressful if that happens. So at least it kind of lessens the burden on you mentally if you just hire an expert.
Right. Plus, the paperwork's involved, the administrative work's involved in applying for a visa. And by the way, for companies looking to sponsor a foreign worker, do-it-yourself will not work for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because there's there's a lot more process involved in hiring of.
So that only a registered migration agent will be able to give you an advice. And by the way, it's illegal in Australia. It's a criminal offense in Australia for a person to give a migration advice if that person is not a registered migration agent. So it's a warning to some people. Your intention may be good. You want to help someone, but if someone hears you giving a migration advice and that person makes a research on your background, finds out you are not a registered migration agent and reported you, criminal offense yun. So be careful. Okay. So, and then as Jairus mentioned, it reduces the amount of stress. If you want, if you have an expert with you in your journey. And then for the appeals process, it's easy, of course. It can be done online. No one is actually asking you to. You are not obliged to hire an agent for that.
The only thing I'm thinking of, another thing to add was, we're kind of lucky for Australia that even if the IMI account is a bit outdated.
Yes.
It's still far better than what other countries have. Like if you look at the U.S. ones, the U.S. application for their visas, it's very old. Like the way they do their system, it's very outdated, and how quickly the
Okay.
sessions end, and when you're putting information and everything. Like sometimes I have complaints with the IMI account, but after going to the US one again,
Ah, you feel lucky.
I was like, oh, okay.
I'm still blessed.
I'm happy with the Australian one now, that we have like this one area for applying for everything. So you might get frustrated when applying for an Australian visa right now, but if you see some of the other countries, like Australia is getting, we're better. We're in a better situation at least.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, for DIYs, the advantages, cost savings. Yeah.
Cost savings. At least you're if you're confident in what you're doing, you can save your funds on how you want to use it. You have full control of what you're doing.
That's true.
Yeah. So I guess I can sort of have personal experience with this one.
Yeah.
When I did my student visa, it was a DIY, but because I didn't know any better. Luckily enough, I did everything right.
Right.
Because by the time I did my student visa, I was already accepted for the school. But they kind of guided me to
an education agent.
Sort of. Yeah, but it was
Oh.
free. It was a free
Okay.
service.
Yeah, because you did your application correctly.
I did, yeah. I think they just wanted someone to kind of help me, guide me through the way. But it might be difficult for other people.
Right. Especially if there's a lot of readings to do.
Yeah, because I made sure I read a lot of everything.
You have the patience and the intelligence to understand the terminology.
I don't. I didn't know. Like I didn't know anything of. I didn't know. What do you call that? That you could get help like that.
Yeah.
So I just sort of made sure that I read everything, just to be careful.
But you know what? One of the downside. I've read this refusal letter to a student visa applicant. The refusal letter indicates the case officer says that in your application you did not use an education agent, an education agent to assist you. Oh, I'm not sure if it's legally correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, the case officer mentioned that.
Yeah. But I feel like that seems unfair.
Yeah, like does that count? Does that matter? I mean. Would that be a minus point for your application if you did not use a registered migration agent or you did not hire an education agent?
Yeah.
Because it was explicitly mentioned there by the case officer.
Yeah.
I note in your application that you did not hire an education agent to assist you.
Yeah. Because like the agent is just there to guide you. They're not supposed to they're not a requirement, right? So you can technically like, how can you apply for other visas, but you need an education agent for other visas too?
As Carol mentioned a few days back, it's easy to do it yourself 5-10 years ago.
Maybe
But
that's why I
now-
was able to do it by myself.
But now it's very complex, especially with the high number of visa refusals. Why risk it, right? When you can afford it. If you can afford it, then why not? But if you can't, then you might as well do a DIY. But 5 to 10 years ago, even if you think that your application is straightforward, that hey, I can do this because it's straightforward anyway. I'm just going there as a tourist. Now it's very different. A lot of more requirements are being asked. You can just the case, this is very tricky. Carol mentioned that each case officer has different interpretation, might have a different interpretation of the same legislation.
Oh, yeah.
So you wouldn't know. Maybe for this officer, lucky you if this officer considers your application, but for the next officer who has a different interpretation and standard, you might get refused. So why risk that? So it's always best to, for me personally, get a professional advice or a professional help.
Yeah.
Even if you're just going for a tourist visa. Tourist visa, if you're going to log into IMI account, there's like 19 pages to complete.
I think so.
Are you willing to,
Yeah.
finish that on your own?
I think the only time I would say do it yourself is if you've done it so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it the first time, and of course, if you think that your application is just straightforward, you're coming here to just visit. Well, in my case before, when I first visited Australia, Canberra, I did not hire an agent. Why? Because I was sponsored by the department.
Yeah.
I'm coming to Australia to train as a consular officer. Hence, I was sponsored by DFAT, or Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
Yeah.
It was straightforward. My application, when I lodged it, it was there's this attached recommendation from my diplomat boss, which was forwarded to the diplomat in charge of the Home Affairs. So, in that way, there's no need for me to hire an immigration agent.
Yeah.
If your application is that straightforward. But if not, consider spending a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what do you think, Jairus?
I think we've talked
Yeah.
about a good amount of what to do
I think so. I hope you learned from it.
for visa
people.
refusals and the ARTs. I think we've also explained a good amount on what's the difference between hiring an RMA and doing a DIY. Always be careful, and every time you apply for a visa application, because you have to remember that you're spending a lot of money, a lot of resources on doing
Yes.
this. So if you can, make sure you're doing everything right. And if it means spending just that little bit more and hiring an RMA, that makes you, let's make sure that increases your chances of getting a visa.
That's correct.
You should do that.
That's
So,
correct.
as a good wrap up, our office can be found at 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. Our email would be skills@enhancednt.com.au. Phone number would be +61 087979 2352. Please like, subscribe, and share our social media platforms, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify. Thank you for joining us on this video podcast.
Whether you are an international student aspiring to study abroad or a professional looking to work in Australia, it is essential to seek professional advice, stay informed, and embrace the opportunities that migration brings.
Yep. Here at Enhanced Down Under, we will help you choose the right path for your career goals. Up until next time.